What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the video if you are watching this after the fact. Today, we are ranking the legends and weapons after the Apex Legends Season 28 mid-season update. We're going to start with the legends, and then we're going to swap to the weapons. Timestamp will be in the description down below, depending on what you're looking for. And of course, leave a like and drop a comment down below with what legends and weapons you are using right now. All right, let's start with a couple of the lesser used worst legends. So we'll use that legend I was just talking about, and I'm trying to. Well, I was thinking maybe Vantage. I'm trying to think if there's any D tier legends. Personally, I think every legend is pretty solid, and I'll just state that this legend ranking is for general power, so I'm not really talking about pubs or ranked. If you're only playing pubs, someone like Octane might be a lot higher in pubs, although Octane's maybe a bad example because he's good in both modes. But we'll do Pathfinder. Pathfinder's pretty solid in pubs. You can fly yourself around, have a good time. But if you're playing ranked, trying to get end zone, trying to get end game, like zone positioning, not that good. You'd be like in B for ranked. So we're gonna do a mix of it, and I'm just gonna think about like the overall game. It's kind of hard to do it that way, but let's start with Vantage. I think I'm gonna pass on D tier for now. We're gonna put Vantage at the bottom of C tier. Um, I really like Vantage in ranked. I would say she's more like a soft B in ranked. In pubs, she's more like a C. Her tactical bat for me is too slow. Her passive is kind of nice in ranked to like scan enemies and see where people are. Um, with the recon class, and you can tell like what type of armors they have, which is nice. So you can like decide whether or not you want to fight. But I just don't think it's really needed. And her ultimate, in my opinion, is good to like open and do damage. I like having a third weapon, but everything she does is not better than like what another character has. With the exception maybe her ultimate sniper, because no character really has that like long range tapping. But you can just grab a sentinel and do the same thing. So uh, next up, let's do Bloodhound. I thought Bloodhound was going to be a lot better at the start of the season. I think I might have had Bloodhound in A tier. No, I had Bloodhound in B tier at the start of the season. I'm going to drop him down a half tier to C tier. I think Bloodhound has a pretty good, like, aggressive potential to, like, when you're in the ult. But outside of that, I don't think the tactical scan is that strong. I think his passive is, like, forgettable. You can delete it, and it's not going to matter much. We're supposed to get more Bloodhound changes later this season. So I am kind of expecting more to happen to him by the end of the year. But for now, pretty underwhelming in my eyes for a recon character. We might go back and tweak these also at the end. We're just gonna do like an initial ranking. It'd be cool if Vintage is bad. Did cryptos like call it out and not actually able to access it, if you know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. Vantage used to have that for sure. The White Raven, I'll say like White Raven tweak a little bit was nice with Bloodhound this season, but not too sorry. Let's do Crypto. I'm gonna give Crypto a slight bump over Bloodhound in terms of recon. Crypto in ranked is like an A. Crypto in pubs is like a D. But Crypto's overall power potential, I think, is pretty solid right now. Crypto had a couple buffs last season with the drone, like recharging his ult and ultimates, EMP doing damage, this type of thing. But I think Crypto can do a lot. He's very misunderstood. Um, he is faster than he used to be. Like Crypto used to be pretty slow because you had to go into the drone. You can just send it out. And since you can just remotely send out the drone, I like getting scans, but I think Crypto is a very difficult legend for people to approach and play. In pubs, just not needed at all. Again, like D tier, and in ranked, I would say he's like A. But Crypto is like one of those characters that you really have to play around his kit, and I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And also, again, like it's hard to when you're playing with your Game Boy and the drone, it's hard to like come out of it, have no abilities, and go up the likes of like Octane Alter and like Wraith and those characters. So let's do Loba. Loba, I kind of talked about Loba just a little bit ago, but in my opinion, Loba's like one of the best beginner character legends. Loba works pretty good in pubs and ranked. She has the ability to get you more loot faster, so you can take more fights, improve a little bit quicker. And if you're in ranked and you can't move around because there's a lot of teams, which ranked's a little bit of a sweat fest right now. It's not really as like positional based. Like people aren't really trying to get the win as much in ranked just due to the way the AP farm is, but still good to get extra loot in ranked when you can't run out from cover. Loba, in my opinion, is really good to like mid diamond. Um, Once you get past like the diamond ranks and you're in masters, like people really are just running it down and she can't keep up at that point. She just doesn't have enough combat effectiveness. But Loba's really good, like bronze through plat into diamond, and that's where she starts to falter. Don't see a lot of Lobas in ranked. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's not used that much in ranked. Let's look at the pick rate. I just think she has a lot of viability. If we go to like platinum, let's see, she's pretty low. Yeah, she's like in the bottom third. And in Masters Pred, I bet she's even low. Oh no, she's a little higher in Masters Pred. That's actually interesting. That's kind of the opposite of what I was just saying, but I think she's pretty good. And the fact that she's higher in Masters and Pred is interesting. Maybe that means she's a little bit better than I'm even giving her credit for. All right, let's do Rampart. Um Maybe Rampart is our only D tier legend. Which really sucks. It's just based on the Hemlock right now. So I'm gonna put Rampart in D tier. And I'm gonna say this just to start before I talk about her pros and cons. The biggest con for Rampart is just the Hemlock and its breach ability. It just destroys her trap so fast. So if Rampart gets a slight buff where the breach does not affect it as much, or the Hemlock just gets a nerf and the breach doesn't affect it as much, she's like a C and B legend, probably B, I would say. But till that happens, she's gonna be a D tier for me just because she's actually getting obliterated right now. So if they've changed the Hemlock's interaction with it, she's B. For now, she's D. If it's somewhere in between, she'll be like high borderline B legend, C tier for me. I think that's pretty. I think that's pretty fair for Rampart. Uh, Pros for her, I will say, I like her minigun. I like the ability to like use it as a utility tool to like break doors and apply pressure on people rotating. I like her walls to like farm, like post up and farm damage, and she can control a little bit of space and like lock down a building pretty well. But again, that breach charge on the Hemlock is just brutal right now. Let's do Mirage. I'm gonna give Mirage a very soft B rating. Um, I think Mirage is pretty solid in less skilled lobbies, which is probably honestly like a lot of people watching these types of videos. Uh, Mirage is good till platinum. Like those bronze, silver, and gold players who are actually in those ranks can't really handle his ultimate. I think he's pretty good at this point. If you're in the upper ranks, Mirage is definitely lower, but he's also not bad in pubs. Like it's nice to run around, pop the ult. Like you get the ult every minute, which is good. He's like kind of a pub for pubs, and like the overall ranked meta, I would say he's like C for the upper skills, which is kind of like where I really should be ranking him. Like I don't know if I should be ranking the legends for like less skilled or bad players, or if I should be ranking them based on really good players. I'm trying to like keep it in the middle. So I think I'll just put him pretty much smack dab in the middle of the meta. Somewhere he'd be like somewhere 12 to 18 ranked for me. Mirage A tier if you are losing a fight. Yeah, I do like his invisible revive and his invisible heals. I just don't think they're good enough to like carry him as a character. So not bad. We'll do one of my previous mains. We'll do Pathfinder. I'm gonna put Pathfinder also like in the middle of B. Path's really not getting used a ton right now. Where's its pick rate? Kind of in the middle. And this is not a pick rate video, obviously, guys, but I think Path is good in pubs, like an A in pubs, maybe like a B in ranked. I like his zip line, the damage reduction. He's had some nice quality of life buffs over the seasons, like that we were talking about, where they baked some upgrades into his kit, but he's just faltering a little bit, in my opinion. Um, I think his biggest negative is his hitbox and his size. He wasn't so freaking fat, he would be a little bit better in combat, but he's like crazy beamable and he doesn't have fortified like some of the bigger boys out there. So, and speaking of one of the bigger boys, we're going to talk about Newcastle. We'll do Newcastle in A also. Um, Good, solid, all around support character. I don't think he's the best support, and I don't think he can quite be an S tier right now. Um, Newcastle, I think, is slept on a little bit in ranked. He could even be maybe a soft S in ranked. I think he's better than Loba for overall game. I think pubs he's not really needed, more like B, but he's not bad in pubs. Like he's still relevant. Uh, so I think if it's ranked, I'd probably put him here. For like the overall game, he's more like an A. You don't really see a lot of Newcastle's just because he's not too needed in like the pub aspect of the game, but in again upper tier ranked, pretty solid. That he's like a good plat diamond legend because you can like slow the game down a little bit. You can control space. You can use his wall to like get cover when you don't have it, and he's gonna help you like survive and actually get to like masters or diamond if you're really grinding. Newcastle's S tier. It's fair. Could be. Again, I might come back after the fact and we might rank him a little bit higher. At the start of the season, I think I had him in A. So I actually had him in S at the start of the season. We'll see who my S tier legends and maybe he will get a bump up. But I'll do Horizon, another A tier legend. Horizon's kind of weird, like pretty good pub character to frag out. Less so in ranked. I don't think she has enough team utility to really be good in ranked. She's like a solid A in both, though, in my eyes. Like a really good Horizon can be very difficult for players to deal with. They've given her a couple small buffs over the last few seasons, but I don't think. I think she's probably a little bit more viable than Loba. I'm also gonna put. Oh no, we'll leave Pathfinder just under Crypto. I think Crypto has more power potential. Yeah, I don't know. The A tier legends for me are legends like you can use really in any mode, and they're gonna be fine. They might be not slightly as competitive as some of the ones above, but solid characters. Yeah, the glide is really good. Like the glide doesn't get talked about enough. All right, next up, let's talk about ballistic. I'm gonna put ballistic also in D tier. I'm not a ballistic hater, but I think ballistic might be the worst character in the game. Worse so than Vantage. Uh, he just doesn't really do anything you really need. You don't need the third gun. It's just not necessary. You don't need. I mean, the tactical is okay if you're really using it like a close quarters fight, but I don't even think his tactical is that great anymore. In his ultimate, you get like unlimited ammo and you get to run around and like frag, which is nice in pubs. But I think like the overall game, I don't think ballistic is that great. I think he was really good for a while there because the devotion in the slung weapon spot was insane. But I don't like ballistic that much. Ballistic and D tier, are we trolling? Yeah, I don't like him. Not a fan. I mean, he's the fifth least used legend in Masters and Pred lobbies. I think that's pretty telling. So yeah, I'm not a fan. Sorry. Moving on. Let's talk about Seer. I'm gonna put Seer at the bottom of C. Um, we kind of were speaking about Seer earlier. I like his tactical scan speed boost thing, but I don't think his passive is really that great. It's obviously nice to like locate people, but I think a solid player can just use awareness to tell where people are, and I think his ultimate is like more of a third party magnet, just lets you know, lets the whole server know where you are, and everyone kind of just runs into you. So not too big on Seer right now. I'm not really sure what they could do to buff him. Sears had like a crazy road in Apex from being like way up here to even worse than he is right now. I just don't think Sears that great. So, um, I would almost rather have Seer than Bloodhound, though. Might do that instead. But I might revisit a couple of these characters at the end again. Let's talk Mad Maggie. We're gonna put her in S tier. We'll do our first S character. The meta changes with Gibraltar being really good makes her a lot more relevant. Like her ball destroying Gibraltar bubble, and Maggie just has a lot of pressure capabilities with the drill. There's a lot of people around in endgame using the drill, forces people to move. You get opening damage, entry, fragging capability. I think she's really good. I would say if anything is a little weak with her, maybe her passive, like the shotgun buff to run around is not too needed, but she has an upgrade that lets it extend to SMGs and pistols. And the R9 and the RE45 are arguably the best secondary weapons right now, so she's pretty good. Yeah, I really like Maggie right now, and a lot of people do apparently based on this. In the larger game, yeah, she's even the second most used legend in the larger game too, which is crazy. Lustig is the second least used legend in the entire game, all ranks. Interesting. So Maggie just needs auto reload, shotgun, and knock, and she'd be really good. Yeah, she got that Gibby upgrade, and we'll talk about Gibby. I'm actually not thinking Gibby is S. I don't know. It's hard to say. I've actually played a ton of Gibraltar this last week. Um, the problem with Gibraltar is the character above him right now, and Maggie can just counter him like crazy. So it's hard for me to recommend Gibby just because like Maggie is so prevalent and she's like such a hard counter to the bubble in multiple ways with the drill and the uh the ball. I do think Gibby is like an absolute tank right now. Like his kit is really good. That bubble upgrade makes him one of the best supports. I would say he's S for ranked. And since his like general power, he's like kind of more like a B, high B, low A for pubs. Think I'm gonna put him just at the top of A right now. I might change that. I might put him in S. The S support character I do want to put up here is gonna be Conduit, which I think I'm like speaking out loud here, thinking about it as I'm talking here, but these two might be interchangeable depending on how you are playing the game. Um, if you're playing more aggressive, really trying to like push players and like fight, I think both of these characters are really good for that. I think Conduit with the tactical shields and her ultimate is just a little bit better. I think if you're playing a little bit more like laid back intelligently, I would say Gibby is kind of like the S and maybe Conduit falls more to like the A. You know what? We're gonna put both of these supports in S tier. I think these are the two to use right now as your like third legend in the squad. For me, the squads right now are kind of like Octane, Alter, and then a support, or Octane, Maggie, and then a support, Alter, Maggie, and support, or something like that. Um, I think I think we'll leave. I think we'll leave both of them in S. I see Rampart more often in comp than Maggie. I've even seen Sheila shred whole teams in comp. Not a Rampart player. Do you mean comp like competitive Apex Legends, or do you mean ranked? Because Maggie in ranked, I understand you're saying that. Rampart in ranked is the second least used legend, and Maggie is almost in every team. So I mean, I understand you're saying that's how you feel she's being used, but statistically, it's just not true. We're gonna put both the supports in S tier. Either way, we'll leave it at that. Let's talk about a previous S tier legend of last season, and it was Caustic. I think Caustic is still very good. I don't think he's an S character anymore. Oh, yes, competitive. Yeah, so this is not a competitive ranking. This is just ranked in pubs in the general Apex player base. So competitive Apex is a lot different. If it's comp Apex, there's like F tier, A tier, and S tier. That's kind of like comp. There's no real middle. It's comp is like really stripped down to what everyone's using. There's not really room for exploring. Caustic, that comment right there. Caustic has too many counters for sure. Uh, the Hemlock Breach, you got fuse clusters, you got Maggie drills, you got Octane stimming all around him, you got Alter to get around the gas. Caustic is still really good. His gas grenade is really good. I still think he's solid to like control space. If you're playing slower in ranked, I think Caustic is still okay. I just don't think he has like that S tier must pick potential that he used to have. I'm gonna leave him in at the top of A. If you're like playing pubs, he's more like a B. If you're playing ranked and you're being really slow, I think he could be S, but I think he's just okay all around. Yeah, Wraith, because Caustic can just reposition through the gas. Yeah. Let's talk about Wraith then. Um, I think Wraith is a okay legend. Probably like a middle A. I think I had her in like B. I had Wraith in B at the start of the season. The changes to her portal are really nice, and some of the upgrades getting baked into her kit and getting new upgrades are really nice. I just don't think she's like super meta. She's probably like in this like Fragger range with like Horizon. Again, if you're playing like competitive Apex, like Wraith is pretty good with that portal. I really like the ability to like hide in that little dome as Wraith's prepping the portal. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like that change. It makes her definitely stronger. Um, it's just that portal rotation is really hard to compare to like an Ashe ult, which is kind of instant, or a Valkyrie ult, which is like crazy. You get crazy more amount of distance. Like a pad can do similar to the Wraith portal, and that's faster too. Actually, the portal and pad timer might be the same now, but Wraith still doesn't have a passive, yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, that's actually worth mentioning, guys, is that like when a character doesn't have really a solid passive ability, it's hard to rank them higher because like characters with a passive that's always on just makes them a lot better. And when you don't have that, it's hard to keep that character relevant at the top of the game. So I think I like the solid A right now. Yeah, the double jump is kind of nice too. Let's do Lifeline. I'm gonna put Lifeline right next to Newcastle. It kind of depends on how you want to play the game, I guess. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more active in your fight with like supporting the team, I think Lifeline's better. Lifeline and her ultimate, in my opinion, are a lot more reactionary. So if you get a knock, like if you get knocked, you drop the ult and then you're hitting the res and you're trying to keep the people from pushing in. The Lifeline ultimate is not as good at like pressing forward and controlling a little bit of space. I kind of wish the ult was shaped so there's a slight arch or dome at the top to make it harder for stuff to get inside of it. The Lifeline ult is very positional dependent. Like if you're low ground, the ult's really bad. um, yeah, Lifeline's S tier if you're losing. Right? Yeah, for sure. I'd rather have Newcastle, to be honest. I think Newcastle is way better in like overall utility and like actually fighting. Let's do Ashe. I'm gonna put Ashe in B tier. She's kind of like in a similar vein as Pathfinder. Like she has a little bit of movement, she has a little bit of team utility with the ultimate, and she has a little bit of like a snare, like hold people up and push them potential. I don't think she's that good right now. Her dash has been just decimated from what it was. I kind of wish they would bring it back a little bit. There's so many other characters that are really solid right now. I think if they buffed her passive, I think that wouldn't really break her and it would make her feel better. But that dash is so slow now; it feels not good to use. So, seen zero Ashes since the update. Yeah, yeah. She, where is she? Yeah, she's like almost what 20th or something like that. I've used. Yeah, she's like 18th. So. Yeah, I don't know. She's okay. She's like one of those like she's fine, not incredible, not bad. If you want to like hop in pubs and play with her, she'll be okay. Let's talk about Revenant. I'm gonna put Revenant kind of with the other Fraggers movement characters we were talking about. Rev's a little bit better at like um being more sneaky in terms of his traversal and approaching fights, whereas Horizon and Wraith are a little bit more like on the nose. You can kind of tell when Horizon's lifting or Wraith is phasing. Rev is a little bit quieter with his climb. The overshield is nice to just make you live a little bit better. But I don't think I think he lacks team utility, which really stops him from being in this S tier. Um, Rev in B tier, he's massive. Yeah, I mean he's kind of like Pathfinder in that aspect. Maybe he's more like here. Maybe even like bottom A. What did I have? I think I had him in A. Yeah, I had him in A at the start of the season. I think he's still fair in there. He's the sixth most used legend at the upper ranks, which I think is kind of showing with his maybe just potential to fight. Um, that's actually pretty high. That's a lot higher than I thought he would be. In the larger game, he's more in the middle, which kind of shows like maybe he's more like a soft A B legend. So I'll leave him here. Um, I don't think I think he's a step above these characters I have in B. So I'm gonna leave him at the bottom of A tier. All right, we're getting to the end here. Let's talk about Fuse, who had a big buff at the start of the season. I had Fuse, I think, in A tier at the start of the season. Let's see. No, I had him in S at the start of the season, which I think was actually a little high for him. He was not as good as I thought he was at the start. He was more like an A. And he had a buff though now. Like he had a midseason buff. I think I will still put him like lower side of A tier. I actually think people are sleeping on his ultimate since they buffed the explosive pattern through walls. Um, it's actually not that bad in my opinion. Fuse's ultimate is the worst in the game. It's definitely not insane like it was. Like if you hit that fire like before they changed it, it was like really punishing. But it was pretty easy to avoid that. And I think if you are playing ranked, you're in endgame. I think the ult is a little slept on since they buffed it. It was really bad at the start of the season. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, Seer's ultimate I think is worse for sure. It's I don't think it's that bad right now. I think people are not understanding it. Never been hit by the Fuse ultimate. It's possible people are not grabbing. You need to grab the upgrade of the persistent fire and the and skip the movement. I think it's not too bad. It's definitely not like as good as I thought it was going to be. The damage is lower, but I have done like over 100 damage with the ultimate to multiple players since the change. Wall hacks are pretty good. In most games, it's considered cheating. It's not really a wall hack though. His ultimate, it's just like you just see the footsteps and it's really counterable. Like you just don't go inside of it, or you just crouch and you're not getting seen. Moving on, let's go to almost at the end. Let's do Catalyst. I had Catalyst in S tier at the start of the season. I think that was high. She's very good at controlling space. I'm gonna put her at the top of A. She's less counterable than Caustic because she can have her traps be unhittable from range. You can have them be invisible, and she can keep continually rebuild doors and stuff. Which Caustic, I think, like once doors are gone, his traps are more exposed. They're harder to keep up. Where Catalyst can prevent that a lot better. Uh, just crouch and don't shoot. Good things to do in a fight. I mean, that's being like really on the nose with it though. Like if you're in a fight, you don't need to scan the person because you already know where they are. So if you're hiding, you're not going to be fighting. Like it's you're like mixing up two things. I feel like. Anyway, I'm gonna put Catalyst at the top of A. Her wall had a nice little buff of some of the upgrades being baked in. You can move it horizontal. Multiple traps and doors, I think, are good. She's a little bit quicker than Caustic. Like she can cover a lot really quick. Like you can reinforce 2-3 doors and put multiple traps down, and you're good to go within seconds. So I'll put her at the top of A. Next up, we're gonna do Bangalore. I'm gonna put Bangalore in S tier. She's like kind of a good all around character right now. Um, Smokes for cover, nice. The game is pretty quick, so being able to put the smoke down and like revive or support your team are nice. Her ultimate, I think, is a little weak. Um, Maybe she's more like an A. Actually, there's a couple. I don't want to have too many characters in S. I'll put her in like the A tier. I don't think she's as much of a needed pick as some of these we're going to talk about in a minute. Um, Her passive double times still, it's still there. It's not bad. She's just a good all around legend. I do really like her upgrades with the electric smoke, which is nice as well. All right, so next up, let's do Watson. So Watson just had some changes at the start of the season update where she can now reinforce continually glass with her generator and the fences, which is nice, but I just don't think it's really that insane. Um, I do really like the passive shield regen. Like she's a controller, she gets a lot of nice buffs. She can be aggressive in fights. She can control a lot of different types of spaces. She's kind of right here with Catalyst. Catalyst is a little bit more defensive, in my opinion, and Watson's a little bit more supportive because of her gen. I think Watson's more useful. Um, they're both pretty low at the top ranks, and Watson is a little bit more in the larger game, but that might be more of like a nostalgia of her. I'm gonna put her in the mid to upper A. I think she's just a little bit uh more useful overall. Is this ranked list or pubs? It's neither. It's kind of like both. It's like considering their pub viability and considering their ranked viability. I am leaning a little bit more towards like the ability to play ranked and play effectively at high level. So I'm gonna put her in AJ. I think that's fair. Octane, yeah, best character in the game right now. Uh, Not really a lot to say. Uh, Insane for pubs, insane in ranked. Uh, Ability to fly around the map, 90-second pads, triple jump pads for actually nuts distance. Like you can go over 100 meters with one pad. You can go 200 meters if you have two triple jump pads. Uh, you can give the team stims with his upgrades. You can reduce the amount of damage you take with the stim. You can do the double stim. If you're critical health and you hit the double stim, you can have stim for 20 seconds. Uh, Passive health regen means you don't need to carry as much heals, and it's pretty quick. Yeah, he's really good. I kind of expected a nerf at the start of the season. That didn't happen, and then we didn't get it again at the midseason update. Kind of expecting Octane to get a nerf at the start of season 29, uh, since they didn't do it at the midseason update. But honestly, maybe they kind of like the speed he's bringing. But in my opinion, being the most picked used legend in overall game and almost a quarter of the entire game is using him, 23% pick rate, which is basically means almost every character or every team has an Octane. But so yeah, um, we're just gonna leave him there. Sparrow, I'm gonna put kind of like middle lowish of A. I'm gonna put him at the bottom of A. Again, the A tier characters for me are those that are really usable. I think Sparrow is really like an okay all around character for pub and ranked. I think his ultimate is pretty good. Um, I think his tactical is a little underwhelming, although it's like not that bad at to like control like behind you and have like another thing to like control space and awareness. I think his ultimate is very good. Um, Second best recon, yeah, is yeah, recon class as a whole is really struggling. Um, I don't know. I really like his double jump and the wall jump. His movement is very interesting. I'm really surprised he's a recon. If Sparrow was a skirmisher, he might actually be nuts because he would get the health regen passive. But I'm gonna leave him in bottom bay for now. I think a lot of these characters are a little bit better in terms of like team play or that type of thing. Let's do Valkyrie. I'm gonna put Valkyrie in the upper portion of A. We're gonna put her. She's kind of like here-ish. Like she's a pretty usable legend in ranks. Like the rotation power that she brings is still very good. Um, I think they buffed her enough to the point where Valkyrie's ultimate is definitely better than evac tower. Like you can go up faster, not get hit if you're going up the tower, and I think her passive is really good still, like flying around. You can dip in and out of fights. Tactical is way better than it used to be. Tactical rockets coming out straight are very nice. Um, so I'm gonna put her like top of A. If you are solely playing ranked, trying to get to like diamond or masters, and you're trying to like get to your desired rank, she's like she's definitely an S tier, I think, at that point. But the larger game, she's just not quite as needed when you're running around fighting. And in pubs, she's good to get more fights, but I don't think she is like must play. And then our final S tier legend for me is gonna be Alter. I'm gonna put her kind of in third place. She might be second place behind Octane, or no, she might be just behind Maggie, but we'll put her in third right now. Alter, like I was expecting a nerf to her ultimate. Like you can just phase around the map. Like you can go play the game, get knocked. You don't have to worry about resetting because you can just teleport out. Your teammates can teleport you out. She can go through walls, get free loot. Uh, she can get the recon scanner or the controller scanner, which is nice. She gets a controller class. She can constantly have a little passive regen in the zone. Yeah, and she's good at ranked in pubs. Let's just quickly go back to this really quick, see if there's anything I would change. I think this set of S tier legends is good. Having 5 characters in S tier, I think, is fair. I would play like either of these 2 legends and then bring in one of these 3. Or you could play Octane in one of these 2 and then one of these 2. Um, Kind of depends on how you want to play, but I think these are the best characters in the game. A tier. There's a lot of really good legends, which is why there's so many in A. I think that's fair. And then B tier are a little bit more like, yeah, they're okay maybe in one mode or the other, but not at the top of the game. C tier, we got Vantaseer, Bloodhound, and bottom. I just don't like Ballistic. And I think as soon as that Hemlock changes happen, she could come back up to B, maybe even A in ranked. But I don't think Rampart's that good right now. So that's going to be my season 28 legend ranking after midseason update, guys. Again, let me know what characters you would do differently in the comments down below. And yeah, so we'll leave it at that. I think I will take a screenshot and we'll just save that for later. Probably post this on Twitter. So if you want to reference it after the fact and don't want to come to the video, you can do that. All right. So let's do the weapons. Rampart B tier. She'd be B tier if the Hemlock just wasn't so oppressive right now. It's 2 or 3 that your player smart plays. My friend plays Rampart, so like we play with the Rampart a lot, or we did until that Hemlock change. But yeah, just right now he's just really difficult to recommend. Guys, if you're enjoying the stream, do me a huge favor, hit the like button. I appreciate the support, and let's start getting into the weapons. Um, so I think I will just kick us off here with the weapons. And we're going to start with maybe just doing the easy, obvious ones. And I'm going to put the care package guns in S. Sorry, am I missing any? Uh, Paper card G7. Is that really it right now? I guess the bow check used to be, it's not anymore. To be honest, again, it's kind of like the hemlock being so good. It kind of makes the G7 like not as viable, but all these are really good weapons and the best of class. Uh, Kraber for a while there wasn't an S tier gun for me because you couldn't one tap someone. You can again, so I think that's still good. Car's like the fastest killing ground gun or gun that you can use for a close range, and the G7 is still actually nuts. I'd probably put it like this in terms of order. So we'll just start with those. I think that's pretty fair. I think, yeah, yeah. Let's leave it at that. All right. So let's go to some other weapons that maybe are a little bit worse right now. Let's start with the bow check. So since the bow check came out of the care package, it's felt really odd. The bow check last season was like a solid A gun. For me right now, it's pretty underwhelming. Yeah, and the hemlock is just so oppressive that everything at range is really difficult. But I think I would rather take the 30-30, which was just buffed, or the triple take if I'm using a marksman. I think I'd rather have the sentinel. I'd rather have the longbow. I'd almost would rather have every other like poker gun. So I'm gonna put the bow check in C tier. It's a little weird too with the ammo. Like you can run out of ammo pretty quickly if you're not picking up your arrows. If you're running infinite ammo amp, like yeah, but I don't love having to use an amp just to use a weapon. So I'm gonna put that in C tier. I'm gonna put the charge rifle in D tier. The charge for me is always a really odd gun that I think is a little misunderstood. So all fights in Apex Legends come to the end and it's close range. Pretty much a given. Um, if you want to swap off the charge rifle after like ring 2, I think it's okay. It could be like a B gun to farm up damage and like apply insane pressure at ranges. The problem with the charge rifle is when you're at getting max damage and you're at that max range, I think it's 200 meters right now. Like if you knock someone at 200 meters, the chances that you are going to be able to do anything with that knock is very slim. And then if you're at a point where there's a lot of people around, you're a little bit closer, and you do get a knock, you kind of need to have a closer range weapon. You can't use the charge. So it's just a really odd gun. Like, yes, it's good to do damage, but I would rather just take the Sentinel. And I think the Sentinel is still one of the like best guns in the game for the overall ability to like use it in a normal way. It doesn't require charge up like the charge rifle, although you can enhance the damage with shield cells. I think the Sentinel is a very good poking weapon. I don't think it's as good as maybe some of the other marksman weapons and snipers we're going to talk about, just because you really have to be accurate with your shot. If they're on blue armor and they're full or purple, you're not going to get that knock like Kraber would, which is understandable. It's not a care package gun, but I think the Sentinel is really solid. I'm going to put the longbow just slightly over the Sentinel because I think the longbow is way more forgiving, way easier. It's a good pressure weapon, and we're going to go through a lot of these guns, guys, and these two weapons here are going to be more like at the bottom of A tier. But I think these two guns are pretty solid as your like poking options right now. Marksman sniper meta is a little bit worse than it has been, so I don't think these are like as prevalent as they've been in the past few seasons, but I think these are like the two poker guns that you're gonna want to use. I'm gonna put the triple take in just under these. It's gonna be like A or B. I might move it to B after the fact. Um, I think the triple take really fell off once they nerfed the the uh the choke. The Sentinel does more damage though, does it? It does more damage, but I think the fire rate and the ability and like the use of the ease of use. God, I can't speak right now. How easy it is to use a longbow, I think makes it better than the Sentinel. I can't speak right now. The triple take I'm gonna put under both of these again. The choke I think being a lot worse just makes it like hard to use right now. You can't really hit like you can hit an accurate shot at range if the choke activates. The choke takes like 2 seconds to fully load, which is really slow. So I would rather have these guns. Like you can do almost the same amount of damage with the longbow, and you don't have to wait for the choke, and it shoots faster. You can do more damage with the sentinel than the triple take, uh, and maybe it has about the same fire rate, but you're doing a lot more damage if you get a headshot with this than this. So triple take is very easy to use. So if you are struggling with your ability to shoot enemies, then I think it's okay. I'm gonna put the 30-30 slightly above the longbow. And again, like these are going to be lower. I don't think we're in a marksman meta, but I do think if you're playing like ranked and you're playing a little bit more methodically and slower, these can be okay. Um, and I might reorganize these a little bit. I might move a couple to B, but I think the 30-30 just having a buff makes it the best marksman gun in the game right now. But we're just not really in a marksman weapon, marksman sniper meta right now, which is okay. We were kind of in that meta for a long time, so. I think all these guns being like good but not insane is fair. Wingman, I'm gonna put in B tier. Wingman is very good in pubs. Like if you're just running around having a good time, it's like an A weapon in pubs. And ranked, it's like C. So I'm gonna put it in B. Off the drop, it's very strong. One of the best off drop guns you can use because it's effective without anything on it. I just think it requires an extreme amount of skill, and you have to be at the really like optimal range for it to actually be well. You can't be too close like SMG range because you're gonna get obliterated, and if you're too far, you're gonna get absolutely smacked by a lot of the assault rifles. So Wingman's pretty good, but not insane. Uh, let's bounce around a little bit. Let's do devotion. I'm gonna put in D tier also. How can you put snipers in A tier and the wingman in A? In B? I don't think the wingman plays into like the meta. Really, it's just the game is not played with people using a pistol like that. It's open, do entry damage, run in and use SMGs, or it's like run with AR entry damage and use SMGs. The wingman is just not the way the game is really played. Again, it's like you can use it in pubs. I just don't think it's needed. So devotion, I think, is one of the worst guns in the game. It requires a ton of ammo to be effective with. It requires a ton of attachments to be effective with. And even if you do get it maxed out to the max, it's just not that great. So probably worse than the charge rifle. I mean, this is like two completely different uses. One's like one's a close range blitzer, and the other one's a long range poker. But both of these guns, I think, are like worse in class in terms of like long or close range play. But the wingman does 50 damage a shot. It's 4 shots on max evo. Yeah, but if you miss one bullet and someone else is shooting, like the problem is if you miss one wingman shot, like all the other SMGs are better. So yeah, if you're perfect, then it's good. But and obviously, like you can miss shots with this too. But if you miss one wingman shot, I mean, the logic there is if you hit all your shots with the wingman, yeah, it's really good. But if you hit all your shots with the R99, you're still gonna lose to a wingman user. And then if you miss one shot with the wingman, you're gonna lose. And if you miss a couple shots with the R9, you still are gonna have power potential. But again, like everyone in a competitive, yeah. I mean, in competitive, they're all pro players, so I don't know if like that's a fair comparison either. But yeah, I mean, again, like you hit your shots with any of these guns and they're gonna be great. I just don't think the time to kill is that great on the wingman compared to some of these other ones we're gonna talk about. All right, enough with the wingman though. Let's do the Spitfire. I'm gonna put the Spitfire like squarely in B. It's like kind of the pub fun gun for me, the Spitfire right now, but it doesn't really do anything better than a lot of the other guns. Like it's an LMG, so like I get its slower strafe speed. The mag size is really the only thing going for it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Not a lot to say about Spitfire. It's very similar to the R301. I'm gonna put the R301 in the upper portions of A right now. I think the R301 having a better time to kill than the Spitfire is good. The R301 mag size, since it got buffed like a year ago now, has also been pretty solid. Um, so yeah, I think the R301 is like best second, maybe second or third best assault rifle. The Nemesis and Hemlock are kind of like a little bit better in my opinion. Let's do the Flatline. The Flatline, I'm gonna put the Flatline like here, I think. Maybe like here. It's really hard. It depends on how you want to play the game, but um, the Flatline has a weird scenario where like it's not as accurate as some of these poking weapons, so it's obviously going to falter at range. I don't think it's as easy or accurate as a 301. It might be a little bit better in damage output than the 301, but you're not going to have the same potential at range. And if you're close up where the flatline starts to get useful, a lot of the SMGs are going to be better. Um, it's just a very odd gun right now. The flatline used to be my favorite weapon in the game. It still is like one of my favorites. It just doesn't. It's just too weak at close range, and it's an assault rifle, so I get it. It's not going to be SMGs and stuff, but the the perk of the flatline has always been it's like mid to close range flex like nature, and it just doesn't have that anymore. So I'll leave it like in the middle of A. I think it's like kind of with these marksmans, and it's really all these A guns are like really close. Let's do the L Star. I think the L Star is probably the best light machine gun. Um, it might be a little bit worse than the Rampage. I'm not too big on the LMGs right now. The problem with the L Star is its energy, and it just uses so much ammo, like a ridiculous amount of ammo. Um, and I think if I'm using an energy poke like mid range gun, I'd rather have the Nemesis. Uh, or maybe even the Havoc. The Havoc's not going to have as much range as the L Star, but I think the L Star is like a pretty like typical like fine gun to use off the drop, but it just requires too much ammo. And I feel like we could honestly buff energy guns to have the same size as heavy again. Like that was a nerf at the time to help counter the amount of people that were running like Volt and Turbo Take. And I just don't know if and Havoc. I just don't think that's relevant anymore. So. All right. We talked about the Nemesis, so let's put the Nemesis. We're gonna put the Nemi at the top of A. You know what? We'll put the Nemesis at the bottom of S. Um, I think it's the one of the best, uh, like mid-range guns you can use. And it's a little bit better, I think, than the 301. Like the 301 is definitely easier, but the Nemesis, if you can hit full bursts, it just does more damage. It does have the ammo issue that we were talking about, but I'm gonna put it here solely because I think it does a little bit more damage. So, we're in a really, really weird spot with the guns right now because like a lot of these are like it's almost like everything is an A tier, with the exception of the Hemlock. Uh, for the mid range guns, not the close range weapons. Let's do the last LMG. Let's do the Rampage. I'm gonna put the Rampage slightly above the L Star. Not too big on the Rampage. I know a lot of people would really like the Rampage, and I think it's okay. If you have thermites, if you're like an assault character where you get the extra grenades, or if you're fuse, you get extra thermites, so you can charge this thing up a lot more frequently. I think it's actually like an A. I just don't like how you have to play that way with the gun. So I do think in ranked, it's like a good all around like poking gun. It's almost like a mini 30-30 with full auto capability and maybe a little bit better close range, but it's an LMG. So if you're close, it's super slow and strafe speeds, you're going to get absolutely beamed. But Rampage isn't bad. It doesn't need any attachments, which is nice. Like the iron sights are really good. You don't need a mag because the base mag's really big. Let's talk about. Let's do the Havoc. I'm gonna put the Havoc kind of right with the Flatline. Havoc is maybe a little bit better at close range. Just because if you can get that turbo activated after doing damage, It is a faster killer. It definitely is not as good at a little bit range extension like the flatline could be, but it's like a solid secondary. The problem with the Havoc is it's just not really the Havoc's best thing going for it for a long time was its mag size, and ever since they nerfed that, it doesn't have the same damage per mag potential, and it doesn't have the same like killing potential as like the SMG is. And the Havoc for me has always been more like an SMG than an assault rifle, just due to the recoil and like the range is actually good at. So I like the Havoc. I will use it occasionally, but I'm not running it. It's like a main gun recent that much. And I'm gonna put the Volt like right with the Havoc. Um, the Volt, these two guns are like weirdly similar. Like the Volt is easier to use because it has less recoil, and then time to kill is pretty comparable. Um, it uses less ammo, I want to say, than the Havoc because it shoots a little bit slower, I think. Um, but I don't know. The Volt just doesn't really do anything special compared to some of the other close range guns. It's definitely like the Volt's like kind of the 301 of close range. Now maybe I'll put these here. I think I'm gonna do this instead. I'm gonna keep these above the marksmans because I think they're a little bit better than the marksman snipers that we're in. Volt's the worst SMG, but still really good. Yeah, that's 100% agree. Volt needs to be higher. I think personal opinion. Yeah, I am gonna leave the Volt at like the middle to upperish A tier. Uh, I think I would rather take the Prowler, so we'll talk about that. Um, I don't know. The Prowler feels like oddly really good right now. Ever since they tweaked the fire rate, I think it was the burst fire rate, and maybe the recoil a little bit in the midseason update. Um, I think the Prowler at its base is terrible. If you do not have a magazine and you're off the drop, it's like the worst gun in the game. 20 bullets is just not enough for it to really be effective. Um, but if you get a blue or purple mag, some people like the full auto, some people like the burst. The burst is actually easier to use because it has less recoil, but the full auto is not that bad anymore. Um, I can kind of see the Prowler being like an S tier pub weapon, but I'm gonna leave it here. It might be better than 301. I need to use it a little bit more. Prowler's S tier melts everyone. Yeah, I need to use the Prowler a little bit more. I've only used it a few times since the update. I don't think it just doesn't kill as fast as the other close range weapons that are going to be above it. So I think it has to be a little bit lower. Um, and since we're talking about close range, let's hold off on these really good guns I'm going to talk about, but let's do shotguns. Shotguns are a little weird right now. There's a lot of Gibraltar right now, and Newcastle's not too bad either. So there's a lot of like poke fighting, which makes shotguns better. So shotguns can be better, not even because they were buffed, but because of the legend meta. Um, I'm gonna say the Eva 8 is probably the worst, but still pretty good. I'm gonna put the Eva in upper B tier, and then I'm gonna put all three of these pretty similar. And I don't think they're better than some of these spray guns, even with the meta we're in. I'm gonna put the PK and the Mastiff like more in the middle. I'm gonna put the Mozams at the top of A. Um, I might even put the Mozams in S because they are pretty good. Like people don't even understand. I'm just trying to. These two are so similar, the PK and the Mastiff. It really just comes down to what you're playing, like the legend. If you're Gibby or Newcastle, I'd probably grab the PK for that power peak potential. If you want a little bit more flexibility, and if you're Gibby or Newcastle, you can use the Mastiff. The Mozams, I think, are a little bit better as a straight up fighter. We're not gonna put the Mozams in S. I'm a little bit worried with the Mozams being the softer hitter. and with the bubbles being everywhere, that they're just not gonna be as good. I'm gonna put them in this order. I'm gonna put them in this order, and I actually think I'm gonna put them here. I think the Mastiff just has better peak potential through barriers and stuff than the Mozams right now. Before the bubble came back in a big way with Gibraltar's buff, I think Mozams were like here, but due to the legend meta and just kind of the game we're in right now, I'm gonna put the Mastiff at the top. It's really hard for me to rank these guns. They're all like really close. So um let's see. I actually also think the single Mozam, even more so than the Akimbos, is kind of crazy. Like people don't realize how the range that the single Mozam. All right, let's do the other Akimbos. We'll do the P20s. I think I might have had the P20s in S tier at the start of the season. I did, yeah. I don't know if that's really true, but I am gonna put them like upper A. Um, the P20s had a little bit of a buff. This midseason update, they have a couple more rounds, I think, at the top end. Or at the base even, I can't quite remember. But they're very good, and they don't really need attachments. You just need a mag and a laser, and you can really melt people. Uh, they're not going to kill as fast as a couple of, like, well, and all these guns, I would say. Uh, but yeah. Alternator, I'm going to put at the top of A as well. I think it's the third best close range weapon outside of the care package. I think it's the gun that you can run depending on your weapons, depending on your combo. If I'm running a marksman or sniper, I really like to have the alternator because it helps me have like a little bit more range to that mid range, and I can do the alternate fire mode for the really close range. If I'm running like a 301 or a Nemesis, I'd rather have an R9 or an RE45 because they're just going to kill faster, and I have like that little bit more like range covered with my marksman or my assault rifle. So it kind of just depends on how you're playing. You can honestly run alternator with a shotgun in pubs, and that'll be pretty good. But yeah. And then I'm gonna put both the R9 and the I'm gonna put these at the top just because they're ground. Actually, we'll put the care packages under the care package guns under these guns, the ground guns, but I think it's R9 and then RE45. The R9 is the faster killer. The RE45 is right there though. The RE45 with the charge up is the only thing that makes it have a little bit of a knock for me. And the other thing with the RE45 that loses out to the R9 is the mag. Going from a blue to a purple mag on the RE45 gives you 6 bullets, which means if you do not have a purple mag on the RE45, I think it's actually pretty difficult to use. The R9 I think is better when it has a blue mag than the RE45 with a blue mag. I think they're like almost equal when you have purple mags. Didn't they have no ramp version on the RE45 at one point? The RE45 used to be a light gun. It was full auto, like light pistol. But honestly, a lot of these two can be pretty interchangeable depending on like maybe if you're running a 301 and you want to split ammo types up, you can do this. Or if you're running like your teammates are running light heavy, you can run the RE45. Or if your teammates are running energy because they're using Nemesis triple take or something, you can use an R9. They're both really good. And then the Hemlock is the best gun in the game right now. So the Hemlock just had changes. If you are kind of watching this video before you've even checked out the season, the Hemlock has a breach mode now. The Hemlock is full auto. The Hemlock is silenced, which I mean doesn't really mean anything other than it's a little bit quieter. The mag size is good. The base damage is really good. The breach is an absolute menace to any legend with door reinforcements or rampart walls, caustic traps. They can be bad against Watson. It can be good against Watson fences if the gen isn't down. It can be good against catalyst stuff if catalyst traps are activated. I was running 2 Hemlocks last night, and I honestly didn't think it was that bad. I was doing one with the 2 to 4 and one with the 1x, and Yeah, I would even say it's probably more like this, to be honest. So, yeah. So there's my weapon ranking. Let's go back through it quickly, see if I would change anything. I think these are definitely the worst guns in the game. I'm gonna put the wingman above these LMGs. I think LMGs are struggling the most. I don't really know what they could do with LMGs to make them better. Like they feel different than ARs, which is good, but they need to do something with light machine guns. They had the reverse when you shot longer, the recoil got tighter. I think bringing that back would be okay. Eva, I think is the worst shotgun, although it's really not that bad. Marksmans are at the bottom of A because they are usable, but we're not in a marksman meta. Then we have a slew of assault rifles and SMGs that are all really good. I think the P20s are being slept on. I think the R301 is probably the best gun for like people out there who are struggling with their gun skill. I'd use the 301. Same with the alternator. If you're struggling with your gun skill, you just can't hit people at like close or mid range. The slower fire rate of the alternator is more forgiving. All the care package weapons are S tier. I think the G7 is struggling a little bit just because the Hemlock is so good. But as soon as that changes, which I'm expecting it to be this week, even, I think there'll be more of an even playing field. Um, Nemesis is like one of the best ground weapons. Again, that's not the Hemlock. I think these two are the primary, secondary close range weapons that you have to take. I think the R9 is slightly better than the RE45, and then the Hemlock is the best gun across the board right now. You can use the Hemlock close range, even long range, of course. It's just absolutely nuts. I do kind of miss the single tap of the Hemlock. Like it had the burst single tap, like it was like had a little bit of like a flex nature that it lost a little bit of that identity. But now the Hemlock's like this full auto and breach weapon, which I think is cool. I really like what they did with it. If you guys are unaware, they said the RE45 is forever staying as the energy burst gun, so no more light RE45 coming back. I don't know if that will happen with this Hemlock because it's the elite version, but again, guys, that is my season 28.1 midseason weapon update tier list. And here is my legend tier list. Again, drop a comment down below with what you think of these two rankings, if you would change anything. Of course, it all depends on you, the player. If you play different from me, if you play maybe more aggressive or more passive, everything could be ranked a little bit differently. This is really just a starting point and guiding point for you to figure out what you like to use as, even though this stuff, like, with the exception of these three things down here, like all these are really great right now. You can use them in different modes or ranks depending on how you are playing. So again, leave a like, guys. Drop a comment. That's gonna be about it for me today. I appreciate everyone coming by. We kind of didn't really do this for a couple seasons. Um, I was doing this for like a year. I would do like a mid-season update. But guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Appreciate all the discussions in chat. If you came to this video through YouTube, hop in my community Discord. I'm fairly active in there. Follow me on Twitter for any updates. And yeah, guys, I appreciate everyone. Any last minute questions before we break here? Any last minute questions? I'll give you 1 minute ish. But yeah, I mean, this was fun to do. I really should be doing like a YouTube live stream once a week. Honestly, like this Sunday morning vibe for me is pretty good. Um, Maybe we will continue to try to do this. I have a lot of like cool live stream ideas that I've been meaning to do for a while as a way to like supplement full videos because I just don't make as much full content. But what's my main legends and guns? Right now I'm using Hemlock and R301 as like my primaries, and I'm using the R9 RE45 as my secondaries with occasionally like the alternator or the P20s, and then I'm using the Mastiff the most if I'm playing like a ball character. Do more live streams. Noted, noted. Yeah, I wanted to do a live stream where I play every character and pick like my new mains. I've been wanting to do that for a while. I wanted to do like a solo ranked series for a little bit, so maybe we'll do that. I've also want to do like some video, like gameplay breakdown, but rank every ability in the game next stream. I had that written down as a video idea. I just wonder how I logistically do that. I would have to make a tier list with all the icons, label all the abilities. That would be interesting though. Hey, yeah, I do actually want to do that. I want to there's a few things now. So I want to pick new mains, so I want to play every character, like play like 2 or 3 games on every character. That'd be like a multi-part live stream. I want to do like doing ranking all of the legends abilities would be cool. Ranking like movement legends, ranking ranked legends, ranking club legends, ranking competitive legends. There's a lot we could do. So maybe I will do these a little bit more. So guys, that's gonna be it